Sales are down, prices are down, but why are we not worried?
Welcome to the TNT Real Estate Podcast, where we spark conversations that set you up for real estate success. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Tanya, and each week we bring you expert tips on navigating Northern Ontario's real estate market. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we've got the tools to help you thrive.
Welcome back to the TNT Real Estate Podcast. We are now in the month of April,
Right.
2026. So the March 2026 numbers are in. And today we're going to go over the market update and what happened in March 2026.
Yeah. So what did happen? Snowmageddon happened is what happened.
Yeah.
Snowmageddon.
Snowmageddon, it totally changed everything.
I don't know who coined that, but I think it's fantastic.
Well, it was like
I
an
know.
Armageddon. We were locked into our homes for like 2 days.
Right.
At least.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but like the beginning of the month, we're like, okay, spring market is here.
Ready to go.
It's like, listings are going, there's buyers out there, things are selling, there's multiple offers, things are going crazy. And then Snowmageddon happens.
Boom.
Middle of the month and shuts down the city for 3 days, 2 full days for sure.
2 full days, yeah.
And that was, during March break. So everybody was kind of semi-vacationing and also stuck at home. And then the next week, the week after March break, the buses weren't even running because the roads were so closed in that the buses couldn't get through. So it really took a toll on the city.
Yeah, especially people with little kids who need the transit. I think that's really tough. Yeah, and a lot of us had listings and clients ready to go right after March break, right? We were counseling them, saying, after March break, once people get back from holiday, they'll be ready to go and start shopping again. Well, now those listings, mine are pushed till May now, mid-May, until we start getting those properties up to market.
Yeah, we've had, and I mean the stats, like we're obviously we'll tell everybody the stats shortly, but we had a bunch of them lined up for mid-March, end of March, and they're like, what we need, like you can't even take pictures because you would just see like the roof line of the house and then a big snowbank.
No door, no nothing.
Yeah, so it was tough. It was obviously, I think they said the last time we got that much snow was in the 50s or 60s. So it's been a long time since we got a dumping like that, especially this late in the season.
I know. My clients who've been here a long time have said they've never seen anything like this.
Right. Yeah.
So the headline really is, though, that sales are down.
Right. Prices
are down.
Right.
But let's get into maybe a little bit why we're not worried. So what does it mean, right? What does it mean? The stats.
So let's say there was 136 sales last year, this year, which is down 8%, or just about 12 sales from the March previous. There's 199 new listings this year, which is actually down 20%. And obviously, the reason for that is the Snowmageddon. We saw, the spring market starting to come at the beginning of March, and then obviously it got totally paused and demolished. And then things are starting to move right now, again, which is, 3 weeks removed from that. But I think it's just, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think it's just like a timing thing, really. And like spring, and we talked about this, like obviously we have very strong agents on the office, on the island in the office, and they're 2 months later, because their clients that are buying second homes on the island are getting everything ready at home and then moving to the island. So everything's just shifted back a little bit, and all the signs are there for a very, very strong spring in Sudbury.
Yeah, what I was gonna say to add to your point there is that what didn't happen in March is gonna happen in April, May, and June, right?
Yeah.
Everything is just going to get shifted because people are still going to, my clients, they moved out of province. Their house is going to be ready to go soon, but certainly we're delayed by 2 months. So what didn't happen in March is going to happen in the future. Yeah.
And I'm trying to I've been thinking about this often, maybe too often, but are we just gonna have the same amount of spring market? Because as you get to the end of June, everything starts slowing down. Kids are done with school, summer happens. Is that the time that it's going to slow down, or are people just going to keep pushing through the summer and it's just going to elongate
Mm-hmm.
And we just like don't have summer vacation.
That's gonna be an interesting one to watch, because here locally we always see July 1st is when everything kind of slows down,
right?
Because like you said, school's out, people want to go to camp, they don't want to think about home buying right now, so they kind of take a bit of a break. But I think it was during the COVID years, like the first few when it was super duper crazy busy, that extended, and I think August was kind of more our slow month, if I'm not mistaken. But usually up north here, it's July, things slow down.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if that gets shifted, or if people are like, I need to enjoy summer.
Right.
Yeah. But what we see from those stats that you were going through, even though the sale price to list price ratio came down, people are still mostly paying full price for a home.
Yeah, they're still bidding
at 100%.
wars. Yeah, they're still bidding wars almost on, I shouldn't say on every house, but on a lot of houses that, and we did have a slow winter up here as well, where there was a lot of inventory. There was buyers out there. There were obviously still sales going on, but it wasn't crazy like we're used to in the last couple of years. And so we're seeing a lot of those houses starting to get picked off now, because there's not enough listings coming to the market. And so the buyers are getting smart and being like, you know what, that one's been sitting for 90 days. Let's go attack that and try and get it a little bit, under asking.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing, is those properties that kind of went overlooked are starting to get a bit more attention now.
Yeah.
So Tyler, what happened with pricing? How has pricing adjusted?
Yeah, so the board average, so the entire board, which for the people that don't understand is Manitoulin all the way over to Marks Day, is Onapin Falls all the way down to French River. So it is a huge board. It's ginormous. So the average price in the whole board is $452,000, which is actually down 3% from the March previous. But if you take out all the outlying spots, which is like typically have a lower average price, in town or the core area, which is basically like Valley to the south end, Rayside or Azilda to Coniston area, the average price there is $483,000. So it's very close to 500. I mean, throughout COVID, our top price was, I think it just hit 500, 515, somewhere in there. And so we're like very strong. We're a very strong market. We have been for a long time.
Yeah. And then, so that core then has gone up, it's 1.9% year over year.
Right.
So the trailing 12-month numbers is something that we also look at. So to break out the seasonality of the market, and the 12-month average was $567,000, which shows a pretty good strength through the beginning part of this year and through late 2025.
Right.
So it's sort of normalizing. It doesn't feel like things are collapsing up here. It certainly doesn't read the same as the headlines that we're seeing throughout the majority of Ontario.
Yeah. And it's a nice conversation sometimes, because a lot of our seller clients are saying, we see the headlines and, Toronto's collapsing, so that means we must be collapsing. And it's nice to be able to tell them, no, it's not. Like, we actually had a very strong year last year and the year before, and it seems like we're going to, keep that. I don't think we're going to obviously get a 10% appreciation this year, but I think we're going to have a fairly strong year this year as well.
Yeah, things are at least going to hold steady. You're not necessarily going to be losing money on a home if you bought it and, were sensible in your purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what the hot areas are.
Okay.
Let's do hot or not.
Okay, so you tell me what's hot.
The Valley. The Valley is crazy.
The Valley is nuts, man.
Yeah. And like, for forever and ever, New Sudbury was always, actually South End was always the most expensive, and then New Sudbury, and then the Valley would trail New Sudbury by like $40,000. And recently they are building a lot of new homes, and there's
construction in the Valley.
There's new construction. There is a lot of like acreage properties. It's like it's getting very expensive. So the Valley East actually was up last year over 28%, and their average price right now is $689,000 in March.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I never would have thought it would have been that high in the Valley. But there's some of those larger homes too, larger homes on acreage, quite a few of those selling over $1 million.
Yep.
And that new construction is in that 600 range. So I'm sure that's driving the prices up.
Right.
Yeah.
After that, it's the Lockerbie area, which is $697, which is famously typically the most expensive spot in Sudbury, and that was up over 25. And so like just to kind of bring us back down a little bit, and 25% seems like a huge increase, and this is only March to March.
March to March, right?
Yeah, so it's March stats last year, March stats this year. It's not annualized overall. All of so we did have a little bit of a slower March this year. Slower in terms of new listings, but the buyers were still buying, and you know, there was lots of multiple offer situations as well. So it's, yeah, I don't want to say Lockerbie is up over 25% without giving a little asterisk there.
Yeah, the context really matters there for sure.
Right.
But yeah, the South End has always kind of maintained a pretty high price point, and certainly to see that things are not dropping in the numbers is really good, especially since we're seeing less number of sales.
Right.
We have a few sort of locations that are also kind of quietly outperforming what they've traditionally done. Right. So of course, Broder would be that area that's even south of Lockerbie area. So like more Long Lake area out towards Wannup-ish, but not Wannup. Yep. But on the way down there. So that's the Broder area. And they had in June anyway, the highest sale price to list price ratio, which was 106% of sale price. Yeah. And then Rayside's another one that's interesting. So Rayside comprises Chelmsford and Azilda. And I know, like, even just in our office talking to all of our agents, so many people are looking in Chelmsford and Azilda. It's kind of like a new little hotspot. And they're at average 103% of the sale price to list price.
I'm happy that people are starting to listen to me, because I've been shouting from the rooftop that Azilda is the spot. You're 10 minutes from downtown. You're 5 minutes from anything that you could possibly need. There's golf courses, very important, and it's like you're on the water, you're on white water. It's the perfect in between.
It's a cute little community
that sometimes gets overlooked, and I'm like, so I'm glad to see
and
people are
too,
listening to me.
That's important.
yeah.
So and then the average on Rayside, so that's another thing that's important, is up year over year, and the average sale price there was $535,000.
Right.
So that's quite good.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
We have one more kind of outlier, and that is Cape Real. What happened in Cape Real last year?
Yeah, Cape Real was shocking. I know there were multiple offers. I showed a couple of places, and I was like, 400,000 and it's getting multiple offers.
Right.
That is crazy.
Right. And
Cape Real used to be like the little inexpensive.
If you needed cheap and close to the valley, you went to Cape Real. The Cape Real has always struggled with pricing. I was actually talking to our MPP. This was a couple of years ago, and she said that Cape Real was, how did she put it? It's basically like the highest concentration of, like, not I don't want to say poverty. But it's like it was like, you know, it was a low lying area that was close to the valley, but also like underperforming in terms of, you know, salaries and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, people have been selling houses.
Yeah.
And like typically, like throughout the whole year, I would say there might be like typically like 20 to 25 sales. Like it was not a lot of sales at all. Last year just boomed. And, you know, there's a couple really beautiful streets in Cape Real that, you know, people just decided to move away from. And the increase last year was over 21%. And the average price in Cape Real is $474,000.
Yeah,
which is
like
huge.
you used to buy a house for $200 or less.
I remember at the beginning of my career.
Under two.
In the beginning of my career, it was not a nice house, anyways. But it was like, I think we got it for like $140,000. Like it was like, yeah, I don't know what to say. I would love to see. I should actually do comps on that to see what it's worth these days.
For the average to be in the high fours is kind of mind blowing. But you know what's nice about that, I think, is let's say there is a little bit of, you know, higher property values. I know gentrification is kind of like a bad word, but maybe people are going to invest in building more amenities out in that area, right? Think young families, get a nice little store, a couple little entrepreneurs opening up maybe like a pizza shop and things like that people enjoy, putting money into parks and building a community. You don't really need much except for some willing entrepreneurs and some people who want to invest in the community.
And I mean, like, it obviously for people to be selling, there's got to be people buying. And there we obviously saw from the increase that people want to be out there, and you know, maybe the stigma of Cape Real is, you know, disappearing and people are happy to move back and live out there. I mean, it's a beautiful community, so it's that would be great anyways. So there was more sales in March than listings. So what does that mean?
Right. Yeah. More sales and listings. What that means is we're losing inventory.
Right.
So our months of inventory is going to be going down. And so what that means is essentially we are going to need an influx of houses to come on the market to meet the demand.
Right.
We don't have enough to meet the demand right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need more people. And I mean, like, obviously March, we've talked about this way too much on this podcast already, but Snowageddon, like, people just weren't listing. We're going to see the listings start coming up in April. But I mean, at the same time, like, as the spring goes on, there's more and more buyers that come into the market. So I think it is a good, like, if you're thinking about selling, I would not necessarily wait until mid-May, mid-spring market.
Busy time.
Right. So I think, like, if you are looking to make a move, I would say, like, the earlier, because there are people that are waiting for listings right now.
Yeah.
And you would almost hate to get mid-spring where prices might be a little bit higher, but you're also going to have a much harder time finding your next place too.
Yeah, more competition.
Right.
For sure. Okay, so what are some areas that maybe underperformed, didn't do so well?
Right. So I mean, I would say the most surprising on this list, there's 3 on this list. Most surprising to me is the West End. So it had the most sales in all of, it had the most sales in all of Sudbury, but the average went down 27%, which, I mean, it could mean a couple different things, because the West End, encapsulates a couple different neighborhoods. And so it could just mean that, there's more houses that sold on Copper Street than, maybe Buchanan or that kind of area, or like the Gatchell area. But I mean, I think it's pretty strong. There's a high demand. There's a couple of very nice streets in the neighborhood. And so if you're thinking of, moving, and like maybe the South End is, priced a little bit too expensive for you, I think the West End is kind of like the comfortable next decision.
Yeah. West End, sort of Gatchell. I love that area. You get some nice sort of, even if you move more towards sort of like Westview and that area, and Sandra Street, like those little brick bungalows, super cute neighborhoods, nice parks, and it's super quiet and lovely. So maybe that average price coming down significantly in stats is maybe just more lower priced properties selling rather than the higher priced ones.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair for sure.
Could be. Another one was Onaping. Price dropped year over year, and there was only 7 sales. So that's also a pretty small area.
Right.
And then French River, which of course is a little bit more seasonal as well.
Yeah.
Snowmageddon, I'm sure, hit the French River, and we didn't really see any sales in March.
Yeah, 0 sales, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The only 8 listings. But I mean, it's a huge, obviously, cottage country, and people just, especially when you're stuck at home full of snow, you're not shopping for cottages just yet. It will liven up, though. It always does.
Yeah, so some of those sort of lower sales areas, certainly they need a little bit of context, and they're not necessarily reflective of the market as a whole.
Right. Okay, so you want to move into a little bit of rapid fire?
Okay, I don't know if I'm ready.
Okay, when somebody says to you, is the market going to crash?
No, the market is not going to crash. If you wait, you're going to miss out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, should I wait for prices to drop?
No, you should not, because there's no guarantee that they're going to drop, especially what we've been seeing. If you're, I'm going to have 2 different answers. If you're also buying and selling your place, that's a whole different conversation. I don't think you should wait, because I think it's going to get much more expensive in the middle of the spring and much more difficult. If you're a first-time buyer, I would buy right now, or I would wait till the end of the year. Maybe there was a ton at the end of 2025. There was a ton of opportunity for, like, the market just kind of, it didn't crash. It just came down. The frenzy stopped. And I think, like, the winter was, if you bought this winter that just passed, you probably won.
Yeah, you probably did good. Another thing might be sort of July too. Like, if it does slow down in July and nobody else is looking, maybe you can pick something up in that time. Yeah,
especially before the spring or the fall market starts up. Yeah. Is Lockerbie worth $700,000?
Lockerbie is worth $700,000 or more. Yes, always.
Biased.
Do it.
Biased.
I am. Yes. Okay. How about, are there still entry points into the market for a first-time home buyer?
Most definitely. And I would say, like, we didn't really talk about it, but God's Country, New Sudbury, and actually the prices fell from, it was only 2%, so it's pretty stable. But I mean, there's opportunities. It really depends on when you're getting into the market. But I mean, if you're willing to go outside the city core, go out to Coniston, Wanapate, Garson, and on the other side to Zilda, Chelmsford, there's always kind of opportunities to get in for sure. Absolutely. It's just maybe you won't live on, Mackey Avenue right away.
You work your way there?
Yeah. Is it a good time to sell?
If you can get some snow out of your driveway and get access to the property, we're at 100% sale price to list price ratio. We're in a listing deficit. We're seeing more homes sell than come on the market. Maybe it is a good time to sell. Maybe you're going to be very attractive and have a lot of suitors come to you.
Oh,
a lot of good buyers.
Yeah. I would say sitting on the sideline it has a price tag. If you're thinking about it, it has a price tag. It just, we had one last year that we waited, an extra week longer than we should have before listing, and we missed the uprise.
You missed that rush up. Yeah.
Okay, so the core of Sudbury market is holding strong. It's up 2% year over year, which is a little bit lower than what we'd like, and maybe not annualized. I think we were up a little bit more than that, but inventory is tighter. There's multiple pockets that are kind of outperforming others, so there's opportunities elsewhere. But I think it's just a wait and see. March was like a weird month in Sudbury. April, when we do these stats again in early May, we're gonna have a whole different story.
Yeah, I think April is going to be the March that we didn't have, if not maybe even more like May. I think people, with all that pent up demand, there's going to be certainly a lot more activity.
Right.
And I think our advice for buyers is that window of opportunity could be closing. So let's get on it, start looking at properties, get your ducks in a row, get your pre-approval, and start the process now, because that right property might come up sooner than you think.
Yep.
And for sellers also, it might be also a good time to sell too, because there's a deficit of inventory.
Yeah. It's kind of like the perfect storm right now, when there's not a lot of listings, there's lots of buyers coming on. It's a good time to sell, but if we're doing it in the next month, it might be a good time before the rush really starts. And so you're a move up buyer or a move down buyer. Or I heard the Andrea in the office, she coined the right sizing. If you want to right size, I like that. And so if you're right sizing, it might also be a great time. Sell the big one, move into the smaller one. And I think it's good.
Every neighborhood has its own nuances, and I think that's why it's important for you to call your realtor and get to know what works for you, your neighborhood if you're selling, or the neighborhood you aspire to be in if you're purchasing.
Yeah. So if you've gotten anything out of this podcast, please share with a friend. If you're thinking about buying or selling, please listen to this probably once or twice, get all the information. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. Please like and subscribe and do all the things. I always forget what you got to do, but please just subscribe and like, and we'll see you on the next one.